Hello, this is Todd Wall from Aquatongue Media, and I saw a story. I think it's actually a reprint. It was recently published, but I think it's a reprint. I think the story initially came out a year or two ago, but the title was so interesting, and the story was so interesting, and the title also includes the word rogue in it, which is one of my favorite words. So, I had no choice but to review the article. So the title of the article is Giant Wave in Pacific Ocean was the most extreme rogue wave on record. And so the article begins in November of 2020, a freak wave came out of the blue, lifting a lonesome buoy off the coast of British Columbia 58 feet. Think about 58 feet. The four-story wall of water was finally confirmed in February 2022 as the most extreme rogue wave ever recorded at the time. I wonder what took over a year to confirm that. I don't understand the scientific process associated with the rogue waves, but in any event, such an exceptional event is thought to occur only once every 1,300 years. And unless the buoy had been taken for a ride, we might never have known it even happened. I like when they put out stats like that, like one in every 50 years, one in every 100 years, one in every 1,300 years. Like, I don't know what that means. I think sometimes they should be a little bit more precise with how they're defining that. Does that mean somewhere in the world there was some point, and it takes, once in every 1,300 years you'll see an event like this, which, given the ocean, how big the ocean is, that would be extraordinary. I guess this really means if you put a buoy in this part of the ocean and leave it there, it would take on average 1,300 years to see a wave of this magnitude. So that's the way I'm going to interpret it. For centuries, rogue waves were considered nothing more than nautical folklore, maybe like mermaids or something. It wasn't until 1995 that myth became fact. On the first day of the new year, a nearly 85-foot wave suddenly struck an oil drilling platform roughly 100 miles off the coast of Norway. At the time, the so-called Draupner wave defied all previous models scientists had put together. So this wave occurred, and until this wave happened, scientists had never seen a wave of that magnitude. So that was back in 95. Since then, dozens more rogue waves have been recorded, some even in lakes. And while the one that surfaced near Vancouver Island was not the tallest, its relative size compared to the waves around it was unprecedented. And they go in here with a little bit of a definition of how they define the size and the magnitude of a rogue wave. Scientists define a rogue wave as any wave more than twice the height of the wave surrounding it. The Draupner wave, for instance, was 25.6 meters tall, while its neighbors were only 12 meters tall. In comparison, the Ulcelet wave was nearly 3 times the size of its peers. Its peer waves. I don't know if peers would be. I don't know if you would use peers in that context. In any event, can peers be referred to inanimate objects? I mean, like, peers would, I think, normally be applied to like living creatures. Anyway, proportionally, this wave was the most extreme wave ever recorded, explained a physicist from the University of Victoria in 2022. Only a few rogue waves in high sea states have been observed directly, and nothing of this magnitude. Today, researchers are trying to figure out how rogue waves are formed so that we can better predict when they will rise. This includes measuring rogue waves in real time and also running models on the way they get whipped up by the wind. The buoy that picked up the Ulcelet wave was placed offshore along dozens of others by a research institute called Marine Labs in an attempt to learn about the hazards out in the deep. And they probably put those buoys out there with no idea would capture a wave of this magnitude. I'm sure that, obviously, by this article, they didn't even consider that. Even when freak waves occur far offshore, they can still destroy marine operations, wind farms, or oil rigs. If they are big enough, they can even put the lives of beachgoers at risk. Well, that's interesting because when you think of these waves, you think of them at sea, deep at sea, deep in the ocean, and then I guess they dampen as they get closer to water or closer to the shore. But that little line there is making it sound like potentially these waves can propagate all the way to the shoreline. You do have you do definitely have rogue waves on the beach. There are parts of California and Hawaii that are notorious for having waves that will suddenly come up and, be several feet higher than all the waves that were just prior to them. But nothing of the magnitude of 40 feet, 50 feet. Obviously, if that were the case, then people would have to be very cautious whenever they went to the beach. Luckily, neither of these waves, the one that occurred in '95 or the wave that occurred more recently, caused any severe damage or took any lives, but other rogue waves have. Some ships that went missing in the 1970s, for instance, are now thought to have been sunk by sudden looming waves. The leftover floating wreckage looks like the work of an immense white cap. That would be terrifying, to be in a ship and to be sunk by a wave. Unfortunately, a 2020 study predicted wave heights in the North Pacific are going to increase with climate change, which suggests the ultimate wave may not hold its record for long, as our current predictions suggest. Sometimes I feel like climate change is obviously very real, and we need to be concerned about climate change, and humans have obviously had an impact on the change in the climate. Sometimes I think that they're too quick to basically attribute any kind of change that they think that's going to occur to climate change. Like I actually saw, the hurricane season this year in the Atlantic is much more subdued than they were expecting. And actually, a couple months ago, there was a lot of stories out there that due to climate change, and the oceans were extremely hot, or abnormally warm, they were anticipating a very active hurricane season. That did not turn out to pass. And I actually saw an article saying that it didn't turn out to pass because of climate change. So basically, the warm ocean, abnormally warm ocean, feeds hurricanes. That's due to climate change. But oops, we didn't get it. So that's due to climate change as well. So I think they need to be cautious sometimes when they, throw these, assign the effects of these natural events to climate change so easily. The article continues, we are aiming to improve safety and decision-making for marine operations in coastal communities through widespread measurement of the world's coastlines. Capturing this once-in-a-millennium wave right in our backyard is a thrilling indicator of the power of coastal intelligence to transform marine safety. So I thought that article was pretty interesting. It makes you think how immense the ocean is, and we take things for granted when we go out in the ocean, when we're in passenger ships, but there's probably some more risk to it than we'd like to think. But in any event, I would be interested in hearing what you have to think in the comment section below, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, everyone have a good one.